I always knew that public transport was something I was going to have to come back to in Linden because it was never really set up properly. I've been kind of winging it with the buses, and I think I got lucky with the trams because I kept them simple. So today, I want to solve a couple of problems with public transport because it's getting a little bit out of hand. Now, when it comes to Victoria Street over here in Emerson Square, things were pretty bad for a little while because traffic was misbehaving. We'll use the word misbehaving. But I've decided to make this road a little bit wider, which meant pushing some of these buildings back. And it seems to have helped. There are still a ridiculous number of people waiting at this stop. In fact, if we click on the sign, there's apparently no one waiting for that one. But if we click on the sign on the other side, if I can find it right there, there's 618 people waiting for a tram. And then if we start looking at Applegate Street, which is right where the train station happens to be, you'll notice the simulation is running at a crawl. That's because there's 866 people waiting for a bus right about here. Occasionally, there's a bunch of people waiting for taxis, and you can sort of see just how many people are walking in and out of the train station. It is very, very busy. There's currently 429 passengers waiting here as well. So there's well over 1,000 Sims waiting in this space. And the game is, I mean, my frame rate's not terrible, but the simulation speed goes to a crawl when I get into that space. So I want to do a couple of things. I'm thinking that I might move this bus station. I might delete all of the bus lines for one, and then move this bus station completely out of this space and over to what is essentially our downtown area, which is Emerson Square and the university and all of this space. But I'm also thinking, and this is going to be a little bit drastic, and this is going to be kind of destructive towards the space that we've built here, but I'm thinking of tearing out pretty much everything between Green Street and Victoria Street on the right side of this hospital and building a train station in here, and then bringing the tracks sort of around and into the station here and around and into the station here, so that we have two train stations servicing two very different parts of the city, because this one's servicing a relatively medium density space and is crazy busy, because I imagine a lot of those people are getting off the trains and trying to get here or to the suburbs. Whereas if I built a station here, it might take some of that traffic directly into Emerson Square. And then if I was to move the hospital across the road, which I know is a weird thing to do, but if I was to do that, I can continue the tracks straight through. I can build a little bridge, take them around, and maybe build a train station out here somewhere so you can get on a train that's going to take you from the city to the suburbs. And that seems like a pretty good idea. It's also absolutely something we can do because we have 32 tiles available because we're now a metropolis, which I totally forgot about, and I suppose I should mention. What I can also do with a new train line is get another outside connection. So I think what I might do is go in here and grab pretty much all of these guys so that we can run a train line straight through there. I don't need all of them, but I think maybe those 11 will be enough for what I want to do. It depends what side I want to run the tracks on, which I'm inclined to say will be the bottom down here. So maybe we don't grab those guys and we save a couple of tiles. And the reason I want to save a couple of tiles is because I've seen a few people on YouTube so far building cities and then saying, hey, what about a village somewhere else? And I'm really looking at this space and thinking, what if I built like a little village out there? So I think for now, we're going to buy these 9 tiles, and that's going to let me sort of run a train line kind of in here and then straight-ish down here. It'll be fine. It's going to weave a little. You know what? You know what? We'll grab that tile, and do I need to grab any more? I probably do, but we'll grab, I don't know. I don't need that tile. It's fine. We don't need it. That's going to be our path. That's the idea, though. I don't know if I'm going to get that outside connection today, but I do think we're going to get a little bit destructive with Emerson Square. And then once that's done, I want to finally move the rail yard to this space. And I want to build a little bit of industry out there because I do want to start moving my industry away from the city and out to the region as well. So let's just get to it. And this is basically where we get super destructive with all this space. I'm going to pause while I dezone all of these buildings because I'm going to have to take some roads out of here as well. And I'm a little nervous about doing this. I'm going to be honest with you because I'm not 100% sure that it is in fact a good idea, but I'm going to give it a shot and we're going to see what happens. I also want to make sure that I've got my one-way roads where I need them. And for the most part, yeah, we're going to be getting rid of a few of them, but I think we'll manage. We're also going to have to get rid of some of these guys. So this is going to need to go, that's going to need to go, and that's going to need to go. And then this guy, I'm kind of thinking I'm going to move into this space. So we keep this building on the corner and we keep the firehouse kind of nearby. So it slots right into the middle there, which looks a bit weird. Honestly, we maybe should get a fire headquarters or whatever it's called, but for now we'll stick with something simple. And I guess we'll go ahead very quickly and just bulldoze all of these buildings. And kind of annoyingly, that does mean that I'm also getting rid of a bit of my landscaping, which I really like what I've done in here, but it's not the end of the world. And I can also do this so much quicker by going in here, getting myself the brush, turning off the remove only matching type, and bringing this guy up to 100% strength, maybe 100 on the size, and just holding right click to remove all of that landscaping. Now, I did notice that my simulation was running kind of slow. Not my simulation, the frames were getting kind of low as I zoomed in there. So I have to imagine, given just how much we've just bulldozed, I imagine there's quite a few groups of Sims that are going to be appearing and walking towards the streets right now. Yeah, there's quite a few groups. Not as many as I thought there would be, but definitely still quite a few Sims. Now, the next thing I need to do is figure out what roads need to go, because a few of them are going to need to go at the very least. I think this one is going to go. Honestly, I was hoping to get the station in this space, but it's a bit close to the tracks. So if we have a look at the building we're dealing with, I can pretty much put it in here, which isn't the worst place in the world for it. It is right between two tram stops, which is totally fine. So I think what we'll do is take out these two roads. So this one, and I'm going to take out these paths as well, just so that we have all of the space that we're going to need. And I might even go so far as to push this guy back a little bit. We have a one-way road sort of coming up here and then going around here. I might just do a little 2-lane road, a little something, just relatively simple that goes, you know what? We'll do a pedestrian road, actually. A little pedestrian road just like this. And then we can go ahead and put our train station right on that guy, which I'm hoping fits relatively central. It's, I think that's central right there. There's, yeah, that is absolutely perfect. Now, there are some hills in here that I didn't really think about. I'm going to be honest with you. Really didn't think about the fact that this wasn't a nice smooth surface that we're dealing with, but that's probably fine. It's not the end of the world. And I'm also thinking, I'm going to bring this guy straight out here and straight over here as well. So that's actually not so bad. We can do some parking at the back. We can do some parking in here if we really wanted to. I could do some parking in here if I wanted to. I might do some buildings along the back of this, though. That might not be a terrible idea. We also have a built-in taxi stop that I absolutely want. I do kind of want the extra platforms. It gives it a little bit more of an urban look. And then this is station services. Small shops, restaurants, and kiosks for passenger convenience increases the attractiveness of the station. Absolutely. We're going to extend it a little bit like that as well. So this is, oh, there's a lot of people right there. This is honestly not so bad. There's actually a ridiculous number of people walking around here. It's really slowing the simulation down is what it's doing, but I'm okay with that. It's not the end of the world. It's absolutely not the end of the world. I just need to figure out how to connect this guy to this track up here, because I'm debating whether or not, the line that sort of comes in from the region out here should cut straight through. I guess it probably should. But then how are we going to do the one that goes out to there? Actually, I think I have an idea. I think I might be able to get away with just the one little connection. I am going to have to get rid of this whole path, though, unfortunately. And I might have to get rid of some roads. I'm not really too sure. I also need to stop pausing the game. I'm getting into that habit again, and that's kind of a problem. Now, when it comes to this road here, I don't want to get rid of it, but I think I'm going to have to. In fact, I think I'm going to have to get rid of quite a few of these roads because of the hill that we're dealing with. And I think I'm going to hit this with a slope terrain tool. And I'm going to say from right about there to right about here, and we're sort of going to just curve around like this, which is hopefully going to give me enough space to connect this all together. And I don't know that it will, but we're going to find out together. We're going to do exactly the same thing sort of from here to there. And immediately this is sort of falling apart, but that's okay. We'll figure it out together is what we're going to do. Hit it with a bit of a smoothing brush. I don't know if that did anything good, but my thinking is that I really only want to use one of these tracks anyway. So I'm going to turn off my guidelines. I'm going to bring this guy out 48 meters. And I don't know if those like little pop-ups are ever going to go away. I guess we're going to find out together as well. I'm going to bring this guy out a little bit further to about there. And then what I want to do is go from about this spot. So we'll say 2 tiles away from the road. We'll get ourselves a curve. We'll get ourselves some guidelines, bring this forward. And I'm hoping I can sort of just do this, which I absolutely can. So that's not terrible. That's actually okay. And then on this side, it's sort of a similar story, except apparently I can't do the same thing, which is a little unfortunate. But if I bring this forward to there, can I get this curve? I'm going to say probably not. I'm going to say this is probably going to be a little bit too sharp for the trains, which is a little bit unfortunate. But, well, I mean, I can make that work technically. I could have the train from the region out here come into this station, then go back, then back to this station, then out to the region. I'd rather it didn't do that, though. I'd really prefer it didn't do that. Although it's kind of, maybe that's for the best. Maybe that's just how this is going to work. And so now this is the kind of mess that we're left with. It's not exactly what I was looking for, but it should work and it should do everything that I need it to do. Now, when it comes to the train lines, that's something else we're gonna have to figure out. So we have this line over here. This one, this gold line, is now going to extend all the way down. And I'm gonna say it's gonna go to that platform right about there, which means that what I now need to do is I'm gonna move the red line into a different platform altogether, because the gold line is now going to be sort of going through in a couple of different directions. So the gold line is going to be strictly for this set of platforms. So right there, we'll say 1 and 2. The red line comes in from the region, and that's kind of where things are going to get interesting, because what I'm going to try and do with the red line is move it. So this one is going to come all the way over to our new train station as well, which is somewhere. It's right here. And we're just going to put it on that platform for now. So it comes in, it goes to this platform, which is totally fine. And then it's going to come out and it's going to go all the way down to this station. So it's still going to come in here, except then when it goes back, it's not going to be going. So basically it comes back and it goes onto the same line that it would usually go onto. It just doesn't go back to Emerson Square, which I think is fine. So we'll see what that does. We'll see if that gets a little bit crazy for pedestrians and whatnot. But my hope is that this is going to take some of the load off of the train station all the way down there. Now, obviously I need to deal with some buildings in here and I need to deal with detailing this space. But what I'm going to do first is move the hospital, because I do eventually want to push some train lines out this way. I'm not necessarily going to do that today. Well, I might push them out, but not build the bridge. Regardless, the hospital needs to move. And the way I'm going to do that is by going in here and taking out all of these buildings, which is very, very simple. And then I'm going to take out these guys as well, because this road needs to move by about 2 units, if I'm not mistaken. It might be about 2 units. I think it is anyway. Now, the way I'm going to do this is essentially I'm going to try and create one of these intersections where it's like kind of nasty looking. I know it's not great. I know it's a bit funky, but if I can get away with this and if the game's going to let me do it, the hospital should fit in that space. And unfortunately it doesn't. And I think it's because of these little corners. So I'm going to get rid of you completely for a second. And then the hospital is going to move into this space. Now, which road do we want it to be on? Is this the road that's going up? I honestly, for the life of me, don't remember. This road is going towards the intersection. So the hospital is going to be put on that road so that ambulances heading out can head to the avenue. And if they want to go down this way, they just kind of come out and around, and that should be fine. So with that done, we're kind of left with the problem of there being no way across here. And I mean, yeah, that is actually a problem because this road down here doesn't go across either. So it's a bit of a pickle. I think, well, I could do something about it if I was to put a road here, but I don't love that. I'm going to be honest. It creates two very small sections of road. What if I did one of these guys? A little two-way alley or something. I don't know. I don't think there's a perfect solution to this. I could, if I really wanted to. No, I couldn't. I was going to say I could shuffle that road down, but well, actually I sort of could now that I think about it. Hold on. Ooh, do I want to get a little bit ugly with this? I could. I absolutely, hold on a minute. I'm going to get a little bit ugly with this. I think this might work. I don't know that it will. I was going to put a road here and then kind of nudge this one up a little bit. I don't know if this will work, but we're going to give it a shot is what we're going to do. So this road would need to be here, which is apparently causing problems because of whatever's going on with this road. So I'm just going to bulldoze that road, which I don't love doing either, but we're going to get rid of it. We're doing a lot today with these roads. We're going to cut across like this, which is fine. And then my thinking was that I was going to try and get a little nasty corner thing here, but it's not wanting to do that. That one's wanting to create a roundabout, apparently. So I think this one is as well. No, this one's just wanting to get nasty, which I really would prefer it didn't do. I think it's because of the difference in lanes here. So we'll get rid of you for a second. We'll bring this road all the way back up here, which apparently doesn't want to behave for some reason. That's a bit odd. And so this is the mess that we're now dealing with. This little one-way road sort of does this weird little wiggle down around the hospital, then comes back up to here. It honestly works, and we do have a bunch of zoning coming up around it as well, which is fantastic. It's a little ugly. It could be a little better, but it does what I need it to do, and that's perfectly fine by me. And you know, I will immediately say this is a terrifying number of civilians just walking around here. That's a lot of Sims, and that's a lot of Sims going to the train station too. That's not people coming from it. They're all going to it. I don't know if that's maybe people that got stuck out somewhere or what's going on, but there's so many of them walking around there. Oh my God. Now I will say that unfortunately, if I want to bring these tracks out, I'm going to have to get rid of Butler Street, which means we're going to have to make some changes to the little one-way thing we have going on. But I am going to get rid of it because essentially I've got no choice. It's kind of the only way this is going to work. Now, when it comes to these tracks, what I'm kind of hoping to do is bring them out somewhat decently. So I want to go to about the point that these guys are going to turn into bridges is kind of what I'm looking for. So right about there, and that's only a very slight incline. In fact, I wonder if I did 0.5. 0.5 actually gives us that. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for right there. That is perfect. That nicely sort of built up base on this thing. So 0.3 there. So 7.5 meters is essentially what I'm looking for. And we just connect it as best we can over here. And that's pretty solid. That is pretty solid. Now bringing it across here is sort of going to suck. I'm not too sure how that's going to work, but my thinking, at least I want to try. I can just do that. Oh, that is beautiful. That is exactly what I want it to be. Oh my God. Okay. We're absolutely doing this. This is going to look, I mean, it's not going to look pretty. It's going to be big concrete blocks just going through the city, but it's not bad. And then at this end of things, we could, I suppose, finally elevate it since it's starting to get a little bit lower. So 0.7, 0.4. I think we'll start to elevate it at this point. I think that's about how we're going to go with it. I guess the easiest thing to do here is going to be to swap this guy out for an avenue, essentially. So that's exactly what we'll do. We have these two lanes running straight into these two lanes. It's going to get a little bit messy around there, but we do need a way to get down sort of out of this space. And I guess what I'm also going to do is take out this connection. Going to take out a bunch of these guys and we'll just extend this pedestrian road over to this new avenue, which again might get a little bit messy. It might be a connection a little bit too close together, but I'm willing to give it a shot. So we'll do this, and I think we might actually keep this one as a pedestrian connection as well, since we have a bunch of them across here. I might even go so far as saying that we bring a little pedestrian connection to here as well. And I wonder if it would be worth having some kind of little pedestrian connection here as well, just sort of to cap things off a little bit. It's a little messy. It's definitely a little messy, but I kind of like the idea of this big pedestrianized space, especially given how chaotic this space is going to end up being. So I'm willing to give it a shot. I'm also going to need to replace these train tracks because I did have to slightly mess with them a little bit to make this work. So we'll take these guys out. We'll go ahead and get ourselves some track. We'll go ahead and change the elevation down to 7.5. And then all I think I need to do is line them from here to about there. And I think if I connect you guys together, it is -2.7. Ooh, maybe we want to go a little bit higher on those guys. Although I actually think that's fine. Oh, you know what I realize I've done just looking at this bus line? I've basically made it so that there's no way to get into this upper part of Emerson Square other than by using one of these two avenues. So I might actually change Green Street here to be a one-way road sort of going this way, which might be a little bit weird, but I think it might be worth it if we do this because it is going to let traffic sort of up into this space. Well, at least it would if this road was something a little different. So I wonder if changing this road into an avenue is a good idea. I don't know that it is. It does seem a little, it seems like that'd be a little bit messy, but what if we just said that this road was instead going to be asymmetrical? We could do that. Have a little asymmetrical road right there. We could do 2 lanes going that way, which I think is unnecessary. I think we'll just do a bit of asymmetry on that one and sort of break up the one-way grid that we have going on just to let some public transport through there. Although in saying that, I'm very tempted to keep the buses kind of on this road a little bit. Or what I'm actually thinking of doing is going in here and changing this to be a one-way road. Just a single lane, one-way road going all the way across here. And then I kind of want to change it to be for buses. I don't know if this will actually work. I don't know if this is something that's going to like only allow buses on that road, but I like the idea. I do kind of like the idea. I also want to make sure that this guy is a little pedestrian road as well. So basically I want buses to go along this road. I don't want anything else to go along this road. So if I put a bus stop right there, right in front of the train station, and I go to that red bus line and I say, hey, buddy, you're going in there now. So if I do that, I can go even further back and say, you know, waypoint right there. So you immediately, what are you doing? Why are you going out there? You immediately come along this road and you have your own little space. And that seems good. That seems like a good thing. I'm also kind of wondering, oh, I absolutely can. So I can absolutely put some grass alongside this to make it a little better. I think I might do the wider sidewalk just at the top end of things, do the grass sort of at the bottom and just see how this goes. This might be dumb. This might not work because I know traffic AI in City Skylines likes to get a little bit bossy and kind of likes to do its own thing sometimes. But I want to see if that works. I want that bus line to be successful. And good Lord, there's so many people. There are so many people. I will say there will be pedestrian traffic, civilian traffic using this road simply because there are parking lots here. So that is going to be a thing. They will use it, but I mostly want to see the buses using this. And honestly, it looks pretty good. We got the buses coming in using their little lane. We got some taxis. We got some people just weirdly walking across the grass here, which I've never really seen before, but I have seen some reports of AI in City Skylines 2 getting a little odd when there happens to be, you know, potentially hundreds of 827 specifically. Good Lord. That's a lot. That is a lot. We might need more vehicles on this train line. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to max it out. I'm going to say 6 on that train line, and I'm going to say $10 for the tickets is what I'm going to do. This other line is nowhere near as popular. Nowhere near. I definitely think a few more trains on that line will be beneficial. And then looking up here, we definitely have fewer people, which is good. So I think my plan has worked out a little bit. We do have the new trains coming out as well, which is fantastic news. Although we do still have to move this thing. But honestly, before we do that, I think I am going to go ahead and try and get this little rail connection out to the region at this end of things. I did just go ahead and buy 3 new tiles, these guys right here, so I can bring the train line right out along this highway, straight across this highway, and then out to there, basically, is my thinking for this guy. I'm not 100% sure how I want to do this. If I'm completely honest, I don't necessarily want to merge these guys, but I also don't think it makes a lot of sense to not merge them. So we're going to merge them, essentially, is what I'm getting at. That's kind of the gist of it. You know, I don't want to, but I'm going to, because I don't think there's any reason not to. So essentially, I want to try and avoid leveling the terrain, but I think it's probably going to be the easiest way to merge these guys while they're elevated and not have it look weird because of the way City Skylines tends to handle doing anything on a slope. So we'll bring this out. We'll bring it up until it's relatively level, which is right about there. 0.1 or negative 0.1 is honestly not so bad. So we'll go for 104 meters. And then we'll sort of do a little thing like this, and we'll do a little thing like this, just so I sort of see where I'm going with this whole thing. Because I want to bring this guy out, and we'll say 56, 72. I'm wondering if I can get away with this, basically. So 72, and then a connection sort of right to the end there. And then the same thing on this side, 72, and a connection right to about there. So if I do that, and I get sort of the point where they all intersect, which is right about there, can I then go straight out like this? I totally can. Does it look terrible? It could look worse. It could definitely look worse. So I'm kind of willing to work with that. And then what we'll do is just slope the terrain all the way down to here, and we'll turn this all into sort of a weird sort of hill, essentially. It's going to be a little bit steep, I think, for a train, but I'm willing to give it a shot because I do kind of want it to be ground level when it crosses over this this canyon. So we'll see if this works. We'll see just how steep this happens to be is what we'll do. So without this, going down to ground level, it's negative 7.4, which is a bit much. I don't love that, but if we did bring this down to ground level, we're going to be looking at what exactly? We're looking at negative 9.1. So still a little steep, definitely still a little bit steep, but I'm willing to allow it is what I'm going to do. I'm willing to, oh boy, I don't love it. I don't love it, but it's going to be okay. Now the other thing I need to do is bring this right up to the edge here and level this out somehow on the other side right about there. And that's going to let me do some kind of train bridge. Do we have any fancy train bridges in City Skylines 2? It doesn't look like it, unfortunately. I'm also realizing I didn't need this to be at ground level. I need this to be slightly elevated so that I can do a good looking bridge here. But we'll give it a shot. What happens if I just do this? It just works. Interesting. Okay, what does that look like? It looks miserable because there's no supports for it. So we're not going to be doing that. Is what we're not going to be doing. And so I guess this is going to be our connection. It sort of curves around, follows the highway. It doesn't have any supports, but I think we can fix that because I think if I come over to here and just sort of double click on the track, it adds a node. It absolutely does. And that looks a bit better. I want to do the same thing here. I want to add a node right about there. And then roughly in the middle of those guys, I want to add another one there. And it got rid of the one on the right, which is really unfortunate. Okay, let me add you back. I guess that's about as good as it's going to be. I could go a little further forward with them, I suppose, and put them sort of in the water like that and like that, or not. I don't know. I don't know what the game wants from me. We'll do that. That's going to be our nodes for that bridge. I don't love it. I'd like something a bit fancier, but functionally it's there. So let me very quickly just fix this, this bit of terrain. We'll go for a bit of a bigger brush on this guy just to smooth this out and make it look a bit more natural. We'll do the same thing here, a little bit weaker on the brush though, down to about 40%. And we'll just smooth this something a bit like that. I don't love it, but I'm willing to allow it. Same thing on this side. We'll hit it from this end just a bit. Ooh, that might be a bit rough on the river. Let's bring the brush size down and let's just ever so slightly fix the river there. So it's a bit more like what it was. So something a bit like that should be fine. That gives us our bridge. That gives us our connection. All I need to do now is run it out to the region. And my question is, am I going to intersect the highway or am I going to go over the highway? I'm going to go over the highway because it would be ridiculous to intersect it. And then if I turn on contour lines, we can just go ahead and follow the curvature of these hills just a little bit to bring this train line sort of out here. We can have it roughly follow the highway just a little bit like this. And then it's going to be kind of going against the contour lines a little bit. It's going to be going uphill for this part, which is totally fine. It's going to just continue in a bit of a straight line here, to be completely honest with you. And then we'll sort of curve it down the hill a little bit. And I think we'll just run it in a nice straight line to the edge of the map right about there. And that gives us an outside connection for that new train station, which I'm so excited about. I'm not going to lie. I'm actually kind of excited about this one. So now, if I wanted to, wait a minute, can I start a passenger line here? Is that a thing I can do? So create new routes. Oh, so I can create a route starting there. And then I could, wait, that means I can run. Oh, so I could run a line from whatever that city is to the city out there through my, oh, that's too much power. That's too much power is what that is, but I'm going to do it because wait, is there any point doing this though? Or do we want to, I don't know if there's any point doing this because I could just sort of extend the other lines, couldn't I? So I could get rid of this stop in theory and then move it all the way out to here, which then brings that red line sort of back and forth. Is this dumb? Is this too much? This might be too much, but I'm going to do it anyway because I love this idea. I love the idea that the trains kind of go back and forth. So there's a red line goes from all the way out there through my station to all the way out there. And then the other line, well, it also goes to this one. The other line can do sort of the same thing, except it goes from the other city. Again, might be a bit much, might be unnecessary. This might just ruin the flow of traffic when it comes to my trains, but I'm so keen for this. I'm really loving the outside connections. I'm not going to lie. I'm a really, really big fan of the outside connections. I do think I've slightly screwed this up though. There we go. So let me just remove that. Let me add you to there. That's now doing what I want it to do. Oh man, that's a lot of power. That's a lot of power that I've been given. Oh boy. I don't know about this. I don't know about this. Oh, now interestingly, we don't seem to have enough trains for line 1, which is fair enough, I suppose. We've got a lot of lines now. Does it tell me how long those lines are at this point? 35.5 kilometers. Yeah, there's some pretty big lines is what they are. So it might not, wait, what are you complaining about? Oh, that's trains as well, right? So I guess at this point we should come out here and we should look at moving the train yard around a little bit. So if I want to do that, basically we have some flat space here. I'm going to flatten it out just a little bit more because we do have an elevated part there. I'm going to flatten this guy out. And honestly, I'm going to push it to about there. I think we're going to sort of do what we've done before and give ourselves a little bit of a canvas to play with. And I do want to bring some industry out here as well. Like I've mentioned before, I do want to start moving it away from the city just a bit. So we'll give us this space here. I'm also going to go in and just take out pretty much all of the trees because I'll put my own in here if I want them. It is going to be an industrial space, so there might not be too many of them. but I just want a really clear canvas to play with. And then what I'm going to do is I might use gravel roads. No, I'll use 2-lane roads to sort of plan this thing out. Basically, I want to run my roads parallel to this track because then my rail depot, whatever it's called, the train depot, is going to be parallel to it as well. So if we bring this all the way down, I might go to about there, bring this across and just say that that's going to be the road that the depot sits on. So if we go in here, we have it right about here. It is kind of huge and it is kind of expandable is the thing. We can do some extra tracks on it, although I don't know that we need them. Let's have a look at you and see what the extra tracks do. So this is increased capacity for more trains. Is that extra trains? It does. It gives us 5 more vehicles. Okay, so that is actually kind of important. So I might want to come down here a little bit further so that I can actually expand this thing. I was thinking that this little terrain expansion was going to be temporary, but it might actually be something we have to keep here. Regardless, this guy is going to live, I'm going to say right about here, essentially. We'll go ahead and expand it with the extra tracks. We'll go ahead and put that thing on there as well. And then all I need to do is bring the road out a little bit further. We'll bring it out a little bit further on this side as well, which means more terrain editing, which I'm really trying to stay away from, but it just, just when I think I got out, it pulls me back in every single time. So we'll bring this out. That's totally fine. We might need to flatten a bit more terrain just to sort of curve this guy towards the tracks a little bit so that we have a reasonable connection for this whole thing. Although, in all honesty, I don't for the life of me remember what way I've connected it down here. So it just connects to one of those guys, which is our depot space. But I'd kind of like a lot more of these tracks to be connected. So why don't we try and do something here that's going to be a little better than what we've done before? I mean, really what I could do is kind of come off here a little bit to, I guess about there is fine. I want it to be a nice straight section of track to wherever that little point was. So right about there should be okay. I want to go ahead and do something like this. We'll use this again, kind of like a marker point for us. And then I wonder, can I do this? I absolutely can. Can I do 96 by 96? I can do 96 by 97, which I'm okay with. So we'll do the same thing here. We'll go 96 and we'll go 97. Take those guys out. And then if I was to come straight down here, that gives me a way to sort of go in both directions for all of these tracks, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So now we have some little one-way sections or little one sort of U sections of track, which is fine by me. We'll bring those out a little bit. So out to about here. And I don't necessarily know how I'm going to connect these guys together. What way did I do it down this way? Did I just run the 1U section of track? I did, and then I connected it to a 2U section of track. Well, I don't know that I necessarily want to do that. I guess I could sort of merge these guys together if I really wanted to, if I sort of connect them like this, and then try and get like a little 2 sort of track section here, but I don't think we need to do that. I don't think I need to complicate this either. I think we can do something relatively simple here. And I think what I might do is exactly that, try and keep this relatively simple. So if I turn on my snapping and I turn on my guidelines, we can do something like this, which is fine. And we can do something like, let's see. So you're going 180. Let's just do something like that, which is also fine. We are going to pause because we have trains coming out of here already. And we're going to replace this guy so it looks like that, which I kind of like. I think that's pretty good. All I need to do now is connect all of these guys because I don't want it to be a bunch of disconnected track sections. And honestly, I kind of like this. I think it looks pretty cool. I think this is a pretty good layout for the whole thing. Obviously, I do sort of want to get some buildings up against this, so it is a little bit more industrial than it currently is. Apparently the slope is too steep if I do that though, which is interesting. Can I do it here? I absolutely can, but I apparently just can't do it right about here, which is completely fine. So I guess we're gonna have roads up against this entire thing, which is also completely fine. That's just the way we're gonna do this. So we'll bring some roads up like this. We'll bring some roads, I guess, right along the back of it as well, which is maybe a little bit weird, but I think that's just how we're going to do this. And that gives us kind of a nice footprint for this whole thing. In terms of adding more industry to this space, I just want to try and fill it as best I can. It is very much just going to be, a space that's just full of industry. That's basically what the space is going to be for. So we'll run a bunch of roads kind of up like this. We'll fill in all of these spaces. It is going to be exactly the same thing up here if I can get away with it, which I absolutely can. And I think we'll take out this road here. We'll keep those guys. And somehow I need to connect to this. I haven't really thought about how I'm going to do that. It's probably going to be a roundabout though. So most likely we're going to go in here. We're going to say, give me a nice large roundabout anywhere, really. I don't want it to be too close to the city. I think maybe by these ruins would be a good spot. So right about there. And what I can also do is use that as an opportunity to change this road out for something like an avenue, which means power is going to run up to this roundabout, which means once I connect this with a regular road, if I connect it with a regular road, which it probably will, power and sewage and water will get out to the new train depot. So I guess that's kind of what I'm gonna do, is bring myself a little section of road out like this. And I really wish I could say toggle parallel roads. Like, it'd be nice if I could go in here and say, you know, run a road parallel to the tracks. That'd be a really cool option to be able to do that, to be able to, you know, specify what you want the parallel road to be. But unfortunately, it's not an option. So we're going to have to just deal with that. I think what I'm actually going to do first is flatten this all up to the river and then hit it with a smoothing brush just to make it, well, do I want to do zoning right on the river? I could. I definitely could. We could do something a bit smaller. We don't have to do full size industry for this space. We're also on top of a water deposit. So let's do some half size industry for along the river. Let's just fill the rest of this with industry, which is maybe a little bit chaotic. I might actually go ahead and put a bus depot out here as well, now that I think about it. If I can squeeze one in somewhere, which I probably can. Unfortunately, I can't get it up there, but I'll be able to get it somewhere. If I got rid of this road here, for example, I could very much get a bus depot in there. So that's what I think we'll do. We'll keep this road just as a little way to get some zoning in there, although I will just ever so slightly change it so it's like this. And then, yeah, we'll put a little bus depot just down here so that I can move one away from an existing industrial space. So we'll do a bus depot. We'll do some extra buses as well, because I think that's probably for the best. We'll do like this. And that does mess with this little bit of zoning, which is honestly okay. We'll upgrade this guy as well. And I don't think there's any other kind of depot that we need. So let's hit this with a smoothing brush. We'll go for 200 in the size, and we'll just very, very carefully sort of smooth this. We're going to make the river a little thinner, but that's probably fine. And so as everything in the background starts building, we've managed to get ourselves a new signature building, which is the chemical plant. Chemicals are everything and more. Chemicals are everything and more are made here every day. All right. I kind of want to have a look at this. It is the chemical plants. It is +1 industrial efficiency citywide. It's a very cool looking building, and I sort of want to build it. I'm not going to lie. So let's just extend a little bit of this road is what we're going to do. And we're going to see if we can build a chemical plant. I might also move a power plant out here. I feel like that wouldn't be a terrible idea. Although maybe that's something for another day. I don't know. Let's, oh man, this thing is actually kind of huge. What does it look like? I mean, that's pretty cool. I've got to be honest, that is pretty cool. It is a little isolated though, is my thinking. So I am going to get rid of it. as much as I like it, just because it is a little isolated out there. So we'll keep this for now is what we'll do. We'll get our industrial zoning sort of back on there just to make sure that none of the buildings get abandoned. We have got some weird little gaps popping up here and there that I don't necessarily appreciate. So we're going to just try and make sure that they don't happen along the top there because there's really no need for them. Like here as well. What's going on with that? There we go. That's a little bit better. We've got something here as well. We got one here, which I don't love, and the rest of it seems fine. So these are a bunch of little, what are they? Warehouses, I guess. Looks like it, which is totally fine. So that'll give us a nice mix of industry. That gives us some warehouses. It honestly gives me some space to play with in here if I really wanted to, which I do sort of want to. But for now, at the very least, that does move some of the industry out of the city, which is what I want. And what are you complaining about? What is this? This is high resource costs. We've got that in a couple of places now, which is very interesting. I'm not too sure what's going on with that. But what it does let me do is come down to this guy, this bus depot, and say, get out of here. We don't need you anymore. I'm also going to move this taxi depot because, ooh, they did not like that. Because we can just, put it out here as well, since we have got the space for it. So taxi depot, it is a fair bit smaller, which is good. And I'm kind of wondering if I can get it right here and then also extend it, which I absolutely can, actually. That's pretty good. I can extend it on this side as well. Can't go the whole way with it, but that's all right. We'll go ahead and get it upgraded, get some electric taxis as well. And that is hopefully going to do some good for us. I would imagine those taxis are going to take a little while to get anywhere, but that's fine by me. And by the way, electric vehicles in City Skylines 2, I've seen a couple of people talking about them on different forums. I don't know if anyone's figured out exactly what they're good for, but I've seen some really cool theories, and it's maybe more than a theory. I honestly don't for the life of me know. I've not tested it. I've not read about it. I don't know if it's actually a thing. But I did see some really cool theories that the benefit to electric vehicles is that they're quieter. And so if you have like a bus line running through a suburb, you might want to use electric buses because they're quieter and therefore your people are going to be less susceptible to noise pollution. And apparently, again, I don't know if this is true. If you do know, let me know in the comments. But apparently, low density residential tends to be the most common to complain about noise pollution. So, long story short, it might not be a terrible idea to put electric buses and electric taxis into your low density residential suburbs, which is essentially what I'm going to do. And so now I get to do something kind of exciting. I get to bulldoze this guy because we just don't need it anymore. And that makes me very happy because it frees up this entire space that I do get to play with. Although in saying that, I'm going to imagine that my trains are probably going to go back to complaining about not having, well, my lines are going to go back to complaining about not having enough trains, but they'll manage, I'm sure. They will manage. We're also getting very close to 100,000 citizens, which is kind of wild. We're at 90,000. Also, these buses are not as busy as they used to be. They were very, very busy for a while. The station is also a little bit less busy, which is probably for the best. It means I can zoom in here without my frame rate or the simulation speed completely collapsing. I'm curious about up here. Is this one doing any better? Oh, they're both doing so much better. I almost wonder if that's because the lines themselves are now so much longer, so they're a little bit less frequent than they used to be. But regardless, I mean, I'm not complaining about it. We still have, oh no, we still have so many people waiting for buses and taxis. What are the numbers right now? The numbers right now are interesting. 27,000 people using my buses. 38,000 people using my trains. Almost 39,000. 23,000 using my trams. There's 89,646 citizens per month using public transport. There's 90,000 people in the city. I would imagine that it counts repeat trips. So I would imagine it counts repeat trips, because if it doesn't, that means that pretty much everyone in the city is using public transport, which for me, that's a major, major win. I'm going to be honest with you, but I doubt that that's how that works. Actually, you know when I said I wasn't going to bring the power plant out here today? I think I am. I think I'm going to build it sort of out here though. So I'm going to push this terrain back a little bit. And I was thinking of getting around to building a nuclear power plant at some point, which I still think I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it today because this is more so moving the industry out of the city for the time being. And then eventually we'll build sort of a dedicated power plant space, kind of like what we've done with these guys. We'll have, you know, a dedicated power space. Just right now, I really want to build something in this space. I think it would look pretty good. We're also going to take these power lines out of here just temporarily. So we're not going to have the simulation running while I do this. And then we'll bring this up to here. We can do something like this. We can do something like this. And we'll run you up something like this. And that gives us a bit of zoning on this side as well, which is fantastic. But when it comes to the power plant, we have this guy, we have this gas power plant, which can be upgraded as well. I mean, it's generating 258 megawatts of power. If we look at power, we're doing all right. We could be doing better though. So I might be so inclined as to build the coal power plant, which is friggin' huge, actually. Wow, that thing is, that is enormous. It would look really cool though, is my thinking. So how much does it generate? 300 megawatts. Oh, wow. All right. We have $100 million. We can't be having that. We're building the coal plant. We can't be having that. Can't be having me being successful in City Skylines. That's not on. So we're building this thing is what we're doing. Boom. There we go. Look at that. 99 million. Saved it. That is enormous. Wait a minute. Oh my God. we can go. Oh, wow. We can go all out on this thing. Good Lord. I kind of want to. So increase the plant's fuel storage capacity. I like that idea. Advanced furnace allows the same power output with less fuel. Yes. An exhaust filter reduces the air pollution. Absolutely. Do I want an additional 100 megawatts of power? We don't need it. That's the thing. There's no reason to do that. And it does take up a footprint within the plant. So we're not going to do it right now. I am going to get that additional storage yard though, because I do really vibe with the asymmetry on this building. So we'll flatten this guy out. We'll go ahead and say, give me the additional storage yard right about there. And then I think I'll surround this thing with roads the way I do for all major buildings. Although I might need to buy some tiles just to blend this thing in with the terrain a little bit better. So we'll purchase those guys. We can go ahead and bring ourselves some roads kind of out and around this guy. And you know, I've got to be honest, this has kind of turned this little rail yard into more of an industrial hub. And I really like that. This was a good little addition. So with that in mind, let's get rid of you because we don't need you anymore. So now that that's gone, I do need to very quickly just verify that I'm not completely screwing up all of my city here. I don't think I am. We still have the power connection. Do we have electricity bottlenecks? It doesn't look like we do, which is good. We do have a bit of traffic up here, which seems to have filtered out, which is great news. It's a little busy, but I'm sure they'll figure out what they're doing. I'm not really super worried about it. I just love that I'm slowly clearing this out. This genuinely makes me so happy. I also kind of love that you can build buildings underneath the power lines. I mean, of course you can build them underneath bridges and stuff like that, but that's such a nice little feature that's going to let this space look even better. I think the last thing I want to do with this area is just add some trees to it. I know it's a bit weird adding, you know, a bunch of foliage around an industrial plant and stuff like that, but I think it's going to look good. I think it's going to look the part once these all kind of grow in and sort of surround this place really nicely. I do think I'll probably feather the buildings out a little bit so it's not just this very sharp kind of end to the area here. But for now, I'm just going to fill this space with a whole bunch of trees, make this place look super good. And I mean, I'm happy with it already. I'm quite happy with this place. I don't know. It's so simple, but it just looks the way I wanted it to. It just looks like a little industrial site. just out of town, right? That's all it is. That's all it needed to be. And that's all that it turned out to be. So I realize I said at the start of the video that I was wanting to get rid of this bus station, and I still very much do, because it's really not that popular. It's not used all that much. But I'm not necessarily going to do that today, because we've done quite a bit with Emerson Square, and then we've moved this guy out to here. But that's not to say that I'm done with buses, because I've kind of had an idea for how I can adapt that idea of deleting that thing and moving it either into here or to Emerson Square. Because obviously we have this dedicated bus lane. It does get used by pedestrians, but that's fine. But what if we were to say that this dedicated sort of bus lane, I mean, we need to get rid of some of the wider sidewalks on it, but what if I go in and I say, hey, I don't want the wide sidewalks here. I want a bunch of little bus stops. That would give us 4, which is honestly not so bad. We can have one right there. We have one right here. We can have one here, and we can have one here. Now, a lot of people live in this neighborhood, and they have to get to a lot of different places. So what if, in the same way that we have bus lines going from that little bus station to important locations, what if we said that a bus goes from Emerson Square to somewhere like here, right down by the high school? And then if we wanted to, we could have it stop sort of in here on the way back to Emerson Square, which I'm not necessarily against doing. So, I mean, it's a little bit close. People could walk that, but we'll say, yeah, the bus is going to stop there. It's going to come up this way. It could stop in here somewhere if we wanted it to, but I don't really want it to. I could have it stop up here as well, which I'm not necessarily against, but I want to actually, you know what? We're just going to do a back and forth. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to have it come up here like this. It's going to be Emerson Square down to the high school, and that's as simple as it's going to be. We're also going to do Emerson Square out to the college, because I think that's probably fairly important to do. So out to about here. And do we have a blue bus line that comes out here? No, that's the trams. That's fine. So Emerson Square to the college is another one that we're going to do. And I know that could be shared with the high school line, but honestly, I'm not going to do that. And then basically we have one that goes down to the university. So we could do a 4th one that goes from Emerson Square to, we could go to the suburbs. That would be an option. It'd be an interesting option. That would be definitely a weird option, but it's definitely something we could do. I don't necessarily know how we would do it, because the buses for the suburbs are kind of running the other way. So maybe we won't do Emerson Square to the suburbs necessarily, unless we sort of went this way with it, which I guess we could do. Might be a bit weird, but I think we'll give it a shot. So we'll say Emerson Square to the suburbs. We'll have one there, and we'll go to this one as well. We'll bring it across into this neighborhood. We'll have it stop maybe towards the, well, over here we have a bus stop that's not even being used. So that's kind of perfect. It might not end up going through this neighborhood though. Although we'll see. We'll have it go to here as well. Oh, it will go through this neighborhood. Perfect. It's not necessarily going to stop in as many places in here, but it's going to at least stop once, and then it's going to go back to Emerson Square. So right about there, which is probably looping across itself, but I'm kind of okay with it. And in doing that, I guess I'm hopeful that we're going to see a lot of people get on those buses, head out, do their thing, go to the high school, go to the elementary school, go to the suburbs, and then, you know, go from those places to the trains or to the other buses. The big thing, I guess, is, well, it's going to be traffic, isn't it? Because we have so many people using this little road because so many people are using the train station. So I think what we'll do is set a parking fee of $50 for the train station and try to discourage people from parking in there. We also have crime problems, presumably because the cops can't get to half of these buildings. Oh, that is a ridiculous number of people. That is, that is a ridiculous number of people. Good Lord. So many people just get off a train. There's also a lot of people waiting for this line, which is our blue line that goes down to somewhere. I'm not 100% sure where that one goes. I think it goes down to here. So that's cool. A lot of people wanting to go down towards the high school. Not that many people wanting to go to the suburb, which is fair enough. And this one's quite popular as well. So that's not bad, honestly. That's really not bad. I will eventually go around and name my bus lines, but for now I'm gonna avoid doing that. Wait, is this the suburb line or is that the high school line? I need to recolor this guy. Let's make you bright red for a second. So you're now bright red. That is that's our college line. Okay. Okay, well, I guess we should rename it now. So it's gonna be bus line 15 and it's Emerson / college is what we'll call that. And I'm going to make the buses, I don't want to make all my buses bright red, to be honest. I really don't. And it actually turns out that the Emerson suburbs line is kind of popular, which is great. I'm absolutely here for it. I've also swapped it out to use electric buses since it is going to the suburbs, and that kind of makes sense. So it's going to be a little bit quieter going out there. Honestly, this entire space is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. The Emerson College line maybe isn't as popular as I thought it was. Let's bring the number of buses on that line down from 7 to, let's say 5. We'll bring the ticket price down to about $4 as well. This is our Emerson to high school line. It is quite popular. So we'll bring that one up to 7, bring the ticket price down to about $6. And then the suburb line, honestly, it's going to stay exactly where it is. 13 buses, maybe bring that up to 14. There's a lot of people waiting at the minute. 237 people waiting. That's a lot. That is a lot. That's also a lot of buses. This idea might not work out as well as I was hoping it would. If anything, I might need to make this into a 2-lane one-way road, just so the buses have somewhere to pull into a little bit sooner. Let's give that a quick shot and see how it would work. So if we do this with it, does that mean that the pedestrian, that's a lot of buses turning weirdly, but does that mean that the pedestrian traffic is now going to, yeah. So that is more along the lines of what I'm looking for. Because all the buses are just getting to where they need to be, it is going to be kind of weird, but as things filter through and as things get worked out, I think the 2 lanes will be better than the 1. Although looking at things at the minute, I might have been horrendously wrong and a little overly ambitious with this whole idea because traffic is still in a dire situation. But you know what? That's fine. Because we now have 93,856 people using my public transport. And that does include both citizens and tourists, which is wild. It's almost 30,000 of the buses, 34,000 of the trains, almost 30,000 of the trams. That's good. I'm quite pleased with this. I'm really, Thomas Shelby hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Okay, that might be, there was a sim called Thomas Shelby. I'm pretty sure that, we might want to keep an eye on him. I might want to build one of these. That's what I'm thinking. It might not be a bad idea to build a police headquarters and a prison. That was something I wanted to build as well. Not today, because, oh no, why, wait, no, I thought it was a traffic jam. It's not, it was a traffic accident, which is arguably worse, but well, for the sim involved, not so for me. I did want to build a prison. I didn't necessarily want to do it today, but I need to remember that next time we might want to build a prison and might want to build a police headquarters, especially now that we're freeing up some space down here. And I'm pretty sure we can't build here for a little while because of pollution. I can't remember which one of these. Yeah, ground pollution. So yeah, this space is going to be polluted for a while. I don't know if ground pollution goes away. If it doesn't, I'm pretty sure it means that this space can only be offices, unique buildings, specialized buildings, service buildings, or commercial buildings. I don't think people can live here. At least, I'm not sure. I would imagine they can't because the pollution, but we'll probably find out at some point. And so I think that's going to be my cue to leave it there for today. I am really pleased with this little development. I think it looks fantastic. I love that we have a connection to the region out this way now, which is great. I love that we're finally starting to move this industry out to this space. And honestly, I might actually start building like a few little farms, little livestock farms out here just for the aesthetics of it all. And in fairness, that surplus of livestock is starting to get down there a little bit. So might not be a terrible idea just to build a few livestock farms for the purposes of, you know, making it look more like a countryside. We could do some stone mining out here as well if we really wanted to. And we do have this space that we could, I suppose, use for it. Do a little cargo train station next to it as well. Might be a decent idea. I don't know. But either way, I am going to leave it there for today. I'm so pleased with how Linden's coming together. My goal is to remove the industry and then expand towards the river and create sort of a shoreline or the banks of the river along here. I want to bring the city sort of down around all of these roads and really start to create something that kind of really does turn this into a city center. I'm also not 100% sure how I'm going to feather things out into this whole space. This is not as steep as it could be, so we can work with that. I'm not going to flatten it all out. I do want to start working with the hills and the terrain and the contour lines, so we'll figure it out. The city's not going to go too much closer to the mountains. It'll probably fill sort of this space. It might fill this space a little bit, and it'll sort of fill some of this. But eventually, the edges of the city are going to go down to things like row houses and low density residential. It'll still be grids. That'll then turn into parks, which will turn into forests, and that'll be sort of the edges of Linden proper. Obviously, I do want to build a little village out there at some point. I think that would be really cool, but we have to get out there first. We have 16 tiles, so we could arguably sort of make our way out there eventually, but I'm not going to do that today because, like I said, man, I love to ramble. Like I said, that's going to do us for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.